Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers, welcome to another program of Ask Huda. Today I'll be Sheikh Muhammad Salah's replacement, inshallah. You will be able, inshallah, to post questions to us online. You can email us at ask@huda.tv, ask, that's ASK, at huda, HUDA.tv. You can also give us a call at 002-0238-555, 248 or 249. Again, it's 002-0238-555, 248 or 249. And if you didn't catch it, it will show inshallah on the screen. Inshallah, I'll start by answering some of the pending questions from last time. And I have a question here that is about tawakkul. Oftentimes people ask questions, or most of the time people ask questions about fiqh, but it is quite important that we also try to learn about how to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how to purify our hearts, how to have the right faith, the right belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His names and attributes, and to rectify our relationship with Him. This question is about tawakkul. It says, how can one, or how can we strengthen our reliance in Allah or on Allah? If you want to strengthen your reliance on Allah, you need to really be observant. It is enough to be observant, because once you are observant, once you actually recall how many times you were in need and who helps you when you are in need. When you turn to people, oftentimes they are not interested in helping you, and oftentimes they are not capable of helping you. For someone to help you, to rely on someone, this person needs to be, one, capable of helping you, two, willing to help you, three, he needs to be there for you at the time of your need. So true reliance should only be on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The absolute reliance should only be on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because many times people are not willing to help you, but if someone is willing to help you, if someone is compassionate enough to want to help you, they are not always capable of doing that. The most compassionate woman would be your mother, for instance. But your mother is not always capable of helping you. She can't get you out of all troubles that you encounter. She cannot fulfill all of your needs. She wants to help you. Your mother would always want the best for you, but she is not capable. But even if she is capable, one time, another time, many times, even if you have someone like a supervisor at work that gets you out of trouble at work every time you get into trouble, there is one thing that no human being will ever guarantee for you, which is they are not going to be always there for you. Allah is always there for you. Allah is Al-Wadud, the compassionate. Allah is Al-Qadir, the most capable. And Allah is Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum, the ever-living and self-sustaining. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who, upon whom you can truly rely and be assured that He will always want to help you. He will always be able at helping you, and He will be always there listening to you, hearing you, and responding to your dua. I have a phone call here, our first phone call. Brother Kamal from Kenya. Go ahead, brother.
Hello.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I have got 3 questions.
Yes, go ahead, brother.
One is, before even I have asked, but I have not understand. I want to take my mother to the Hajj, and I am sick. Can I be able to send with another person from my neighbor? One question is that one. The second question is...
okay. Yeah, what's the second question?
Understand the first question?
Yeah, go ahead. What's the second question, brother?
The second question is, for example, now, Miqat, when you bought the Saudi Airlines, you normally, when you reach the Yelemlem, they told you have reached now the Yelemlem. But when you bought another type of airline, they usually don't tell you the position of the Yelemlem or the Miqat. And can we be able to perform, to start our Hajj in Nairobi or in Addis Ababa or any other capital city direct from there, taking our Ihram, and can we be able to start from our position in our country? And the third question is the food that we are taking in the airline. When it is the Saudi airline, we can take their food, no problem. But when it is another airline, like another airline, we don't know whether that food is halal or haram. How can you put some shade on that thing?
Okay.
Have you understand?
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. Yes. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Okay, well, your last question, if I take the last first, your last question about food and airlines, and Saudi Airlines would have halal food. I think you would also assume that, Islamic airlines, airlines of Muslim countries, would have halal food. Airliners that are not from Muslim countries, you should be able to ask them. You should be able to ask the attendant whether there is, whether the food is halal food or not halal food, and you should believe them. Whatever they tell you, they're not going to lie to you. So you should be able to ask whether the food is halal food or not halal food. As for the airlines not announcing the miqat, the position from which you should make ihram, I think you were asking if you can make ihram from your place of departure. Like if you're in Kenya, you make ihram there in Kenya to avoid missing the miqat, and certainly you can. Certainly you can make your ihram from your place of departure so that you don't miss the miqat if your airliner does not usually announce the miqat. Okay, I have another question from the United Arab Emirates. Bint Maryam. Go ahead, sister.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, I have two questions.
Yes.
One is how to be patient and control anger, like in day-to-day life. And my second question is like if someone is working and due to some personal stress, if the person is spending more time making ibadah or doing tasbih during the working hours, is it considered a sin, or it's during the working hours? So I just want to know.
You're making ibadah during your work hours?
Yes.
Okay, like ibadah that interferes with your job? Because someone can make tasbih, if you work on an assembly line and you make tasbih while you're working, that does not interfere. But does it interfere with your job?
No, it doesn't, because it's only it's only tasbih that I do during the working hours.
Okay, inshallah. Okay, so your first question was about patience, and your second question is about making ibadah while working. Making ibadah that interferes with your job, you should not. Certainly the furud, like the prayer, for instance, you will have to tell your employer from the beginning that you will have to establish prayers on time, and the employer should allow this, and we shouldn't really never be ashamed of this, or we should never be reluctant to ask or timid to ask, because people get coffee breaks all the time, and a coffee break takes 5, 10, 15 minutes, and the prayer would not take more than 5 minutes to finish. So consider this to be a coffee break for you. It's much better than a coffee break. Gets you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It releases your tension. It's very de-stressful or de-stressing. So that's what it is. If the ibadah will interfere with your job, then you certainly defer the ibadah that can be deferred until you finish your work. But if it doesn't, then you certainly can make ibadah. It will bless your whole place. Your question about patience and how can someone train themselves to be more patient? Well, the answer to this question requires a whole program, but there are like so many things that you should keep in mind. And everybody has a personal experience, and every one who will answer this question will answer it from a different angle, different perspective. Also, they will be affected by their own personal experiences. But I find that one of the things that are most important in this regard is to really understand the value of this dunya, is to really put the value of this dunya in perspective. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hadid, أَعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا لَعِبٌ وَلَهْوٌ وَزِينَةٌ وَتَفَاخُرٌ بَيْنَكُمْ وَتَكَاثُرٌ فِي الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَوْلَادِ كَمَثَلِ غَيْثٍ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتُهُ. Know that the life of this dunya, or the life of this world, is about play, amusement, mutual boasting, and seeking abundance in offspring and wealth. كَمَثَلِ غَيْثٍ أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتُهُ. The likeness of this dunya is like rain. أَعْجَبَ الْكُفَّارَ نَبَاتُهُ. The vegetation therewith pleases the farmers. ثُمَّ يَهِيجُ فَتَرَاهُ مُصْفَرًّا. And then it dries out and it becomes yellow. ثُمَّ يَكُونُ حُطَامًا. And then it crumbles away. If you look at the trees, through the different seasons, summer, fall, winter, the leaves will be green and beautiful, and then they dry out and become yellower and yellower. They fall off the trees, they crumble away, and that's it. They turn into dust, and that is you as a human being. You're born with about 70% of your body weight in water, and when you die, if you die senile, you'll have about 55% of your body weight in water. So you do dry out. So if this is the dunya, then should we really be devastated by what happens in this dunya? If we will all leave, if no one will stay around, no affliction will ever stay or stick to you forever, because if the affliction does not depart, you yourself will depart from this dunya. So it is not worth your anxiety, and rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and seek the reward of the hereafter, and set your eyes at that target, the final destination that you are pursuing. Whatever happens on the way to that final destination, you will be able to tolerate the hardships much better, inshallah. There's much more to say about this, but maybe we should entertain more questions at this point. I have Abdullah from Sweden. Go ahead, brother. Yes, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
My brother, I have two questions regarding my job. I'm a business developer at the bus company in Sweden, and my job is market development or business development. And I have two ideas that I'm not sure if I'm allowed to go through within Islam. So the first one is I'm aiming at better service at the buses. Am I allowed to have a program that can give the bus drivers some rewards for their good service? It could be like being more nice to people and so on and so on. So can I give them a bonus system or a rewarding system? That's the first question. And the other question is, I'm thinking of finding a new method to sell tickets on the bus, and can I give the bus drivers an incentive system for selling more tickets? In that case, money. In the other case, in the other question is like a rewarding with some halal stuff, of course. These are the two questions, Sheikh.
Absolutely. The answer is yes to both. There is no problem in giving rewards to the better performers amongst the bus drivers, and as long as everything is transparent and it's documented, transparent, then you can have whatever system of reward for the better performers amongst the bus drivers. The parameters should also be transparent parameters, and if it is about customer service, it's about timeliness, it's whatever the parameters that you will set will be transparent parameters, the reward system will be transparent, then it's certainly permissible. As far as selling tickets on the bus and giving commission to the bus drivers who sell more tickets, that would also be an additional job, and certainly you can give them commission for this additional job. Jazakallahu khairan. So I have another pending question here from before. I have a question from Brother Muhammad from Nigeria. It was about combining madhahib. I think this question is from a previous episode. It was about combining madhahib. Can you combine madhabs? And the answer to this question is why? Why would you combine madhabs? That would affect the final answer. What's the intent behind combining madhabs? If you're just trying to pick and choose whatever you please from the madhab, then that is not a good intention, and you may not combine the madhabs in this way so that you take whatever is easier for you from every madhab, because in this case you would be the classical follower of hawa, which is self-desire, vain desires of the self. So certainly in this case you would not. But if you combine a different madhab because the dalil is stronger with this madhab on one particular issue, and it is stronger or on the side of the other madhab on a different issue, and you are capable of understanding the dalil, and the matter is not a matter that requires deep scholarly knowledge, and then in this case you may combine. For the scholars who address issues, contemporary issues, that require answers, requires making alternatives in the banking system, and whatever contemporary issues that the Muslim community encounters. Those scholars usually combine between the madhahib to bring about sort of creative solutions for the problems that are consistent with Islam and that are not defiant to the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But usually they do take from the four different madhahib. You cannot combine between madhahib if the final combination will be an invalid action according to all of the madhahib. So you can't combine between 2 or 3 different madhahib in the salah, for instance, if ultimately your salah will be invalid according to everybody, or the particular act that you are performing will be invalid according to everybody. I think I do have another question from Brother Muhammad from Nigeria as well. It is one of the pending questions. It's about a Muslim friend who wants to marry a Christian girl who reverted to Islam, but his family refuses to accept her. What should he do. I think in this case, you do need deliberation, you do need sort of compassionate dialogue with the family, and I would not defy my family's wishes, but I would certainly discuss the matter with them and have compassionate dialogue, and also listen to their concerns, because they may have some valid concerns. Now, she is a Muslim, she is a full-blown Muslim. Once you revert to Islam, there is no one-stripe Muslim, two-stripe Muslim, and so on. Once you revert to Islam, you're a full-blown Muslim. Therefore, she is certainly a good candidate for marriage. However, marriage is not only about being good and nice and being like a good Muslim. Marriage is about so many other things, so many other considerations have to be factored in. There is like, the level of education, socioeconomic status that may create some disagreements if the difference is so wide between the partners. There is also cultural matters that would affect our behavior. It would affect how we perceive things. All of this needs to be factored in. So I would have a compassionate dialogue with my family, but certainly she is a suitable candidate because she is now a Muslim. And I hope, inshallah, that you will be able to have a fruitful discussion with your family members. I have a question from Brother Abdullah from Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Good evening. Sheikh, I have one question.
Yes, bro, go ahead.
Is it possible for the business of a fellow colleague who gives you his capital and you are making business, you are like his manager, and all of a sudden you get capital and you are also making your own business alongside?
Brother, I couldn't get the question. Can you please repeat it slowly?
Okay, you are a manager in a company, your friend's company. You are managing his business, and then you also make some money and you start doing a similar business along with his own. Are you supposed to tell that person that this is what I am doing? At what level are you allowed to make your own business out of, besides his own, making your own business with your own money, selling the same type of goods? Did you get the question?
Okay, all right. We will answer this, inshallah. Okay, I had some. My answer to the question about patience was a bit brief, and I said that it would require a whole program. And I said in my answer to that question that you really need to understand and to comprehend, contemplate the value of this dunya. And if you really have the right perspective on this, you will not have an anxiety, and you will have a lot of patience. You will not have grief or an anxiety, but you will have a lot of patience. One of the things that are extremely important also in this regard is the belief in predestination, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, ما أصاب من مصيبة في الأرض ولا في أنفسكم إلا في كتاب من قبل أن نبرأها إن ذلك على الله يسير لكي لا تأسوا على ما فاتكم ولا تفرحوا بما آتاكم والله لا يحب كل مختال فخور. No affliction befalls you, whether in yourselves or on earth, except that is inscribed, that affliction is inscribed in a book before we bring it to existence. Most certainly this is easy for Allah. I am telling you this so that you may not have excessive grief over what you missed or excessive joy over what you've gained. And Allah does not like the boaster, the arrogant and boaster. So if you believe in predestination, if you believe that it was predestined, if you believe that it was inscribed in the book, then you will have a great deal of patience, because it would have never been any different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed that this would happen at a particular time, in a particular manner, and you should not say, as the Prophet ﷺ taught us, educated us, you should not say لو كان كذا لكان كذا وكذا. Had been this way, it would have, resulted in this such and such, or had I done it this way, such and such would have resulted or happened. But you should not say that, because it would have never happened that way, because Allah inscribed those decrees in the preserved tablet 50,000 years before He created heavens and earth, as reported by Muslim from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the hadith of Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote the decrees 50,000 years before He created heavens and earth. So this would be also very helpful for you if you have firm faith in predestination. It will help you much with patience. Inshallah, after the short break, we will come back and answer some of the questions that we had from before and some other questions.
The Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, narrated that when Allah, glory be to Him, wishes good for someone, He bestows upon him understanding of the religion, and that Allah makes the path to paradise easy for those who seek knowledge. Preoccupied by work or family in the modern world, a Muslim may struggle to find time for acquiring Islamic knowledge. To ease this struggle, we are launching Huda Academy to be your gateway to online Islamic e-learning.
Enroll now and study from our renowned scholars. Learn Aqeedah from Dr. Muhammad Salah.
Learn Fiqh from Dr. Hatim Al-Hajj.
Learn Hadith from Dr. Muhammad Sa'id.
Learn Tafsir from Sheikh Ibrahim Zidan.
And learn Arabic from our professional instructors.
Successful graduates of Huda Academy will go through a final test and eventually receive a certificate of completion.
To enroll and learn more about Huda Academy, please visit us online at hudaonlineacademy.com.
Huda Academy, your gateway to authentic Islamic knowledge. Europe's forgotten heritage.
This is a sad reminder of the past history of the Muslims in the city. Nowadays, there are no Muslims anymore. These are the mosques that have remained. And it is really sad.
Wait a second, this is Morocco. No, this is Tunisia, Algeria, North Africa, Egypt. No, this is all Europe, and this is all part of Spain. Islam spread first in Africa, and then from Africa it came over to Europe, and then it did developing work in Europe. Now, we look the other way around nowadays. The compass was invented by the Muslims. Many important inventions came from the time of the Muslims on the Iberian Peninsula. Instead of people becoming less in battles, as we normally know, as we know in battles obviously people die, but no, what was happening? The Spaniards recognized and realized the superiority of the Muslims and the treatment that the Muslims gave to the Christians and the Jews in Spain at that time, that they happily accepted Islam, many of them.
An Ottoman fountain, as we've seen it before in other places in Greece. Now, it has some Arabic on top, as well as it had some Arabic down, where the tap used to be, or where the water was coming out.
Pack your bags, grab your passports, and join Dr. Steph Karis as he takes us through Europe and rediscovers Europe's forgotten heritage, only on Huda TV.
Welcome back. Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Let's go back to some questions, but before we answer some of the pending questions, we have Sister Abdullah from the UAE, United Arab Emirates. Go ahead, sister.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I have 3 questions.
Yes.
The first question is, what are the main things we should look for in a person if a girl is wishing to get married to someone? And the next question is it
what should you look for? What should you look for in a potential
husband?
Okay. Yes.
And is it allowed to carry Quran in our bags?
In our bags?
Yeah. And is there any expiation for cursing?
Expiation for cursing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jazakallah khair.
What should you look for? You know, I certainly can't say anything better than the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, and you may think it's not applicable the other way around, but it is applicable the other way around. He said that a woman would be married or would be sought after for marriage for one of 4 reasons: her wealth, her beauty, her family status, or her religious commitment. تنكح المرأة لأربع: لمالها وجمالها وحسبها ودينها فاظفر بذات الدين تربت يداك. So marry the religious one that you may prosper, or lest you will be miserable. So does it go the other way around? It does go the other way around. So a woman should look for a religious person. And in general, as the Prophet ﷺ said in a hadith that's reported authentically by Abu Dawood, النساء شقائق الرجال, women are the full sisters of men. So the hadith was actually said, or this statement was actually made by the Prophet ﷺ in response to a question, a question that was seeking clarification regarding a ruling that was established for men, whether it applies to women, and it was about purification. And the Prophet ﷺ said that to say that by default, it does, apply to women. The masculine pronouns have been used in the Quran and the Sunnah because that is what is used in Arabic to refer to both sides. The Prophet ﷺ also said regarding women accepting potential suitors or potential husbands, إذا جاءكم من ترضون دينه فزوجوه إذا جاءكم من ترضون دينه وخلقه فزوجوه إلا تفعلوا تكن فتنة في الأرض وفساد عريض. If someone proposes to you, he's addressing the guardians now of the women. If someone proposes to you and he is religious and he has good manners, then marry him off or get him married, lest there will be so much corruption on earth if you don't. The Prophet ﷺ is not trying to say here that you don't have a choice. Keep in mind, he is not trying to say that you do not have a choice. In fact, a woman came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked her, she said, so and so and so and so proposed to me, should I marry them? And he mentioned a few problems about them, and he told her, no, marry Usama, and he suggested someone else. Those 2 other individuals were also Sahaba, so they were not irreligious per se, but because of some other concerns, one of them used to be somewhat aggressive, the other one used to be somewhat stingy. So for these concerns, the Prophet ﷺ told her, no, don't marry them, marry Usama. If we're talking about the most important prerequisite, that will be religious commitment and good manners. But that does not mean that that's it. We should also look for commonalities. The more commonalities there are between the potential partners, spouses, the better off they will be, inshallah. So look for a lot of commonalities. You're not going to be able to find a Xerox copy of yourself, but the more commonalities, the better off you will be, inshallah. And this could be level of education, socioeconomic status, interests, inclinations, hobbies, cultural factors, and so on and so forth. The second question that you had about carrying Quran in your bag, certainly you can. Expiation for cursing, no, there is no expiation for cursing. You just need to repent and seek Allah, forgiveness from Allah. Brother Kamal, who asked the first questions, I didn't get the first one of his 3 questions in the beginning of this episode. It was about sending his mother over to Hajj, but without a mahram, with neighbors, good company, in other words, and whether this would be allowable or not. And this is a matter that is quite controversial. You will ask this question, you will ask several people the same questions, you'll get different answers. It's a controversial matter. The Hanafis and Hanbalis do not allow it. The Malikis and the Shafi'is do allow it, to send to send a woman with a righteous, good company where safety is assured. My own position is that it is allowable if the safety is assured. We have Sister Asia from Sweden. Go ahead, Sister Asia.
Assalamu alaikum wa
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
A while back ago, I read in Riyadh al-Salihin something about the women being less intelligent than men. And I wonder, do you know this hadith? Are you familiar with this? I'm not sure exactly where, but I read it a while back ago. Are you familiar with this?
I will answer your question. So what's your question exactly?
The question is, are women, according to Riyadh al-Salihin, what do they mean when they say that the woman is less intelligent than the man?
Okay. All right. So once again, these are questions that require a lot of time. I had another question from my brother Abdullah from Nigeria about a business that he works like as a manager in a business, and he wants to do a business on the side. If there is any conflict of interest, this is a question that would require a lot of details to be answered. If there is conflict of interest, then you should not. If there is not conflict of interest, then you may. Your time on the job should be all devoted to the job. Outside of the job, you are a free man. So you can do whatever you want with your free time, unless there is a conflict of interest, unless you're using your position within the company to compete against that very company. And in this case, there would be conflict of interest, and it would be dishonest. Going back to this question about the women being less intelligent, the hadith about women being less intelligent, I want you to keep one thing in mind. The hadith did not say that every woman is less intelligent than every man. So why would you worry about this? You are from the children of Adam. Your brother is more beloved to you than a foreign woman, right? So it is not a matter of like we are two fighting teams, men and women. Your son, isn't your son more beloved to you than a woman half a world away? So we're not two different teams. We're one species. In Islam, we are one Noah, not one jins. We're not one genus. We're one species as men and women. There's the Noah and there's the jins. What does that mean? It means that we are equal in our humanity. We are completely equal in our humanity. Now, if you have two different trains, and the two trains will, one of the two trains, train A, will reach the final destination a little bit ahead of train B, but you will be, at the very front of train B. So you will be ahead of most of the people in train A. Don't you think that Khadija radiallahu anha, Fatima radiallahu anha, Aisha radiallahu anha, Asma radiallahu anha will be much higher than someone like me, than all of the men around, than all of the men, the existing men nowadays. So why would it bother Khadija and Aisha and Fatima that in general train A will reach a little bit ahead of train B? Yes, Ibrahim was a man. Muhammad sallallahu Ibrahim sallallahu Nuh sallallahu the great messengers were men. So yes, those people will be somewhat ahead. But for Khadija and Fatima and Aisha, they are ahead of 99.999% of men. So why would it bother them that if ultimately there will be men that are ahead of all women? Think about it this way. If we say that men are stronger than women, does that mean that every man is stronger than every woman? No, it doesn't mean that. But you have Olympics for men and Olympics for women, because if you make one Olympics for men and women, women will not get a lot of prizes, right? Let's just be realistic and let's be honest. So it just means that, yeah, in general, yes. Think about it. When Lawrence Summers, he was the president of Harvard University, that's the highest academic chair in the United States, when he addressed the issue of women not reaching the same level of excellency men reach in natural sciences, exact and natural sciences, such as math, physics, and so on and so forth. Certainly there was sort of like an uproar against the man, and the man needed to resign from his academic post. But this is intellectual tyranny, because let us look at statistics and numbers, and let us be honest with ourselves. Yes, the generality of men are ahead of the generality of women. That does not mean that we will deprive women of opportunity, because many women will be much better than many men. But the generality, the overall, men are faster than women. Well, let's say that. They run faster than women. That shouldn't bother you. And the same applies also to the issue of intelligence. Up until now, in the United States of America, there had not been one single woman president. There may be very soon, but even after Margaret Thatcher was a prime minister for the UK. But let's really be realistic and put things in perspective. In Europe, where Europe is sort of the pioneering force in liberalism and women's rights, but how many prime ministers and presidents have there been in Europe compared to men? It means that overall people still trust a man president over a woman president in those places most of the time. Generally speaking, that is the case. And I don't think that the political correctness is about dishonesty. Political correctness should not be about dishonesty. Political correctness should not be about tossing away statistics and speaking dogmatically with complete disregard to the truth that is proven by numbers, because numbers do not lie. What I want to tell you, you as an individual may be much smarter than all the men that are around you, and Islam does not deprive you or bar you from any opportunity, because in general men may be more intelligent in general. I hope that would answer the question. And I hope that we take this matter a little bit more realistically, more impartially, and that we do not be sort of imprisoned by the culture around us, and let's try to be free thinkers. Your son is is closer to you than a woman that's half a world away from you and your father and your brother. We are not two fighting teams. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest.